Thanks for joining me. This is Danny, and welcome back to my Real Tech series. Today we're going to be setting up a multi-block farm from the Forestry mod that is going to be harvesting fruit from orchard trees for us. So let's get started. So in case you're not familiar with the Forestry Multifarm, this is a multi-block farm that's going to require a lot of blocks because it's multi-block. And most everything we need is down here in this bottom row. We're going to have to do some crafting from these blocks, but we're going to need a lot of stone bricks. There's actually a few different blocks that you can use for the farms. I'm going to go with stone bricks just because that's going to be the easiest for us. We're going to need a bunch of a bunch of tin gears. We're going to need some kind of a water source. And then since we're doing an orchard, we're going to need lime saplings or whatever orchard tree we're going to be making this out of. And then in order to make the farm blocks, we're going to have to make a 3x4x3 block of these farm blocks, and with some special types of farm blocks that we'll get into in a second. And in order to do those, we're going to need tin electron tubes. So 3x4x3 is 3 times 4 times 3 blocks, which would be 36 blocks. So we're going to need 36 of these tin electron tubes. The tin electron tubes are made in the thermionic fabricator. This is a block from the Forestry mod. It's a crafting block. It requires RF, and essentially what it does is it melts down sand into liquid glass, or you can use glass as well. And it does use RF all the time. As long as there's a recipe set up in here, it's going to be using a little bit of RF just to keep this liquid glass warm. And then basically what you do is you put the ingredients you need for it in here, and then we can just pull it out of this. And then every time you pull it out, it's going to craft some more for you from the ingredients that are in there. So we're going to need 36 of these. We're going to need some gold electron tubes as well. So that's going to make gold electron tubes for us. And there we go. We're actually only going to need one gold electron tube, but you do need to make them in sets of 4. And then if we want to get this thing to stop using RF, all we really have to do is clear out this recipe. And it'll stop using RF. Eventually it's going to cool down so that the next time we want to use it, we'll have to wait for it to warm up to this point again. But that's going to be a long time from now. So I'm going to make a whole bunch of these farm blocks, but I need a bunch of copper. So that was one thing I didn't mention, is that we're gonna need a lot of copper, and we don't have a lot of copper. Uh-oh, the delivery cart just delivered us some copper. I found an azurite mine a little bit to the west of here and have more than enough copper now. So I'm gonna get 30, so we're gonna make 36 of these farm blocks, and I'm gonna grab my gears. So we're going to need 1 gearbox. This is basically what we're going to use to get power into the farm, because the farm does require RF. And then we're going to use 1 hatch. So I'm going to make oak trapdoors, and I can make the farm hatch. The farm hatch is going to allow us to input and output items. So that's how we're going to pull out the, well, in our case, lime from the farm. And then we're also going to need a farm valve. This is what we're going to use to get water into the farm. And then we need a farm control. The farm control allows us to input redstone into the farm. And this is what we needed, our 1 golden electron tube, in order to turn the farm on and off. We're also going to need a bunch of stone bricks to place, and then the water generator, or some kind of infinite water supply. And then we can go assemble this thing. So back behind our factory, what's going to be our food factory, I have already carved everything out. This is basically the size and shape of the forestry farm. While I was digging, I actually found a vein of apatite. We're actually going to need that for fertilizer for the farm. But what we're going to do, so basically the farm block itself is a 3x3x4 block. You can also make, you can also make a 5x4x5 if you want a larger farm. So this is actually the smallest forestry farm that we can make. So I'm just going to put these farm blocks down here. These 2 layers, this layer is going to be just bricks, just our regular stone bricks. And then the farm itself is automatically going to place dirt on top. And then what I'm going to do at the very top is this is where I'm going to place our gearbox to allow us to input RF. So let's see, we had 1, 2, 3, and this is level 4. Actually, the water generator I'm going to put underneath. And we can put these blocks wherever we want to, for the most part, except for this row, except for the third row of blocks. So I'm going to place the valve down here underground because we'll never really have to interact with that. And I can just put a water generator there and it'll automatically fill this thing up with water. And we'll never have to worry about that again. And then the hatch. This is how we're going to pull items. Now I'm going to have a tunnel here going into the factory. So I guess actually I'm going to do that one underground as well. I'm going to put that one right here. And then I guess I'll just dig out a little tunnel here for now. I may make this bigger. We may make like just kind of a full basement here at some point. But we shouldn't really need to interact with this farm much. I'm going to have something to pull the items out of here. And we'll just pipe them right into the factory. And then the farm control, I'll just put that up here somewhere, maybe there. And we're going to have some kind of a redstone control there. We're actually going to have kind of a remote redstone setup there so that we can turn this thing on and off remotely based on how much inventory or how much stuff we have. So we know that we've got a complete multi-block here when we get that black stripe going around it. And if we right click on it now, we get a GUI. So by default, when we set this thing up, we get an arboretum. So this thing is basically a tree farm. It's going to cut down trees. That's not what we want. We're going to want to add a circuit board here with some electron tubes. And we'll take a look at that in a second. But first, I want to set down these bricks. So the size and shape of this thing is basically in each direction, we're going to go seven blocks. And wherever we place these stone bricks, it's going to place dirt on top of them. And that's basically going to be the area of the farm. So anything above those stone bricks is going to be managed by the farm. So from every side, we're going to go out 7. And then we're going to go on an angle to basically connect these. And then just fill this space in on all 4 sides. So now we have to set the type of farm that it's going to be. And in order to do that, we're going to be using these electron tubes. Now each electron tube sets the farm up as a different type of farm, or each type of electron tube. We can do reed farms, crop farms, so on and so forth. We're going to actually need the emerald farm in order to make an orchard. And that is made like so. This we're also doing in the thermionic fabricator. So we're going to need 5 emeralds and 2 redstone. Whoops, in the thermionic fabricator. And then we're going to have to put those in a circuit board. There's actually 4 different types of circuit boards. We're actually going to need the intricate one, which is the highest tier, and that we make like so in a carpenter, although this does require some water. So I'm going to grab some from the sink, put it in there, and then that should start crafting this. The carpenter just requires RF and usually some kind of liquid, and then these ingredients. Other than that, it works very similar to the thermionic fabricator. So there's our electron tubes, and then we're also going to need a soldering iron on the carpenter. So 3 iron, 1 bronze. I think we have 1 bronze left. So there's our intricate circuit board. And there's that. Let's see. This also requires water. Of course, we could just pipe water into this machine and then we wouldn't have to keep doing that. Although some recipes do require other things. Okay. So the intricate circuit board allows us to place 4 electron tubes in it. Each electron tube corresponds to a quadrant of the farm. We're going to set this to manual farm. So basically the difference between an automatic and a manual farm is the automatic will plant stuff for you. We don't need this to plant stuff for us. All 4 quadrants are going to be manual orchard. Once we do that, it should just automatically... There we go. Okay. There we go. So there's our There's our circuit. So then we just take that and we put it right there, and then we can see that it is all set to be a manual orchard, which means that we're going to plant the orchard. Now we just need to power this guy up, And then we need to give this guy some fertilizer. This is made basically with apatite and white sand. Apatite is really easy to get. I found one huge vein of apatite just while I was digging out this tree farm, and I already had a bunch before. If we throw a stack in here, it's going to consume it very, very, very slowly over time. And now it's basically ready to go. And you can see it consumed a little bit. We will probably never need to put any more in there again. So now I just need to plant the trees, and to do this optimally, I am going to plant one on the edge here. Hopefully far enough away from that line. And then I'm going to basically keep planting them about 5 blocks away from each other. One of the reasons that I've built... You can actually build this farm above ground or below ground if you want to. I went with a below ground build so that it wouldn't interfere with the tree growth. This fertilizer, by the way, can also be used to used as bone meal to make trees grow. So there we have it. There's our lime tree. Ooh, and look at all the lime on it. Nice. So as soon as one of these grows, actually, let's just check to make sure this guy is not complaining about anything. And it's a manual farm. So now if we bone meal this until it's fully grown, which it is now, we should see that it harvests it. It just harvested. I just stopped recording and then it harvested it. But we can see if we look in here, we should see our limes are in here. We got 10 limes. It didn't get them all yet, but it does. It has basically a scanning algorithm that it goes through. Eventually it'll hit the whole farm. I packed as many trees as I could in here. And as many limes, so we can maximize what we get. So far we have 6. And these are the Pam's Harvestcraft trees, which you can actually shear these. So if we grew a couple more trees like somewhere else, we could shear those off and then just fill up these entire things with limes. And that would optimize our farm quite a bit. But as long as the base of the tree is above the stone bricks, then it's going to harvest from them, even though some of the branches or some of the actual fruit is hanging over the edge of the farm. That's totally fine. And I'm just going to cover up the rest of this farm with dirt, which is eventually just going to turn to grass, and it doesn't really matter. There. And it's autumn, so it looks like a beautiful autumn orchard, doesn't it? With the... almost looks like, with the dirt, it almost looks like the ground is covered in leaves. So what's nice about the manual farms, now I've done a lot of videos in the past where I've set up the automatic farms, which do the planting for you and harvesting. With the manual farms, you can lay things out however you want to. Like I could have a path going through here, I could make it look really nice or whatever, and it'll still harvest everything for us and be all good. All right, I have some storage drawers set up here to store the raw ingredients for our food factory. One of those raw ingredients, of course, is going to be lime, so I'm just going to throw that in one of the drawers. And I've got a controller down here, but I'm actually going to set up a controller slave down here, down in the tunnel, or actually going into the tunnel, and I'm going to have some trim going into it. That way we can input into that controller slave from the farm. Before we do that, though, I want to set up a sensor, an item sensor, that is going to tell us, basically give us a redstone signal when this drawer has a certain number of lime in it. So we're going to filter lime, and we're going to throw this in a sensor on the farm. So on the farm control block right here, I'm going to set this sensor reader, which is going to output a redstone signal based on this item sensor, which is basically counting the number of limes that are in that drawer over there. And right now it's counting 15 because I pulled 16 out of this farm block, and I have one with me. So we're going to basically subtract 1,000 from this, which is going to give us a negative redstone signal, which basically means no redstone signal. But once that drawer reaches 1,001, it's going to output a redstone signal of 1. So it'll be 1,001 minus 1,000, which will be 1. And that will shut off our farm. Down in the beautiful dirt tunnels, I've got the controller slave down here. This is under the factory. I've got an omnidirectional hopper moving... an upside down omnidirectional hopper moving stuff up, and then a string of hopper ducks going all the way back to the farm over here. And then I'm going to use another omnidirectional hopper to pull from there. These are from MacLeod, by the way, these omnidirectional hoppers. Okay, wait, I need to output that in that direction, and then input from the farm. Okay, so we should see that these are emptying out, and they're going to end up going along this string of hopper ducts, and they're going to end up upstairs. Now, because we're using hoppers and hopper ducts, eventually this network of hopper ducts would back up, which would cause this thing to fill up with inventory, which would cause the farm to automatically turn off. However, I'm just going to have it turn off based on how much, based on how much is up there. And of course, this would be required if you were to use something like conveyor belts or some other method of transfer that doesn't, like mine carts or something like that, that doesn't necessarily look or make sure that the destination has enough room. So this farm is automatically going to harvest the lime from the trees whenever it grows, and then that lime is going to get sent through that hopper duct network up into the storage drawers upstairs until we have 1,000 up there, at which point this farm will just stop working. So it'll basically be disabled, and the lime will continue to grow on the trees, but it just won't harvest it anymore. It'll just leave it sitting there until we need it, until we have less than 1,000 in that drawer again, at which point this will lose its redstone signal, the farm will start working again, and it'll harvest everything that's out here. So that's it. That's the whole beautiful orchard. So if you do have any questions, comments, ideas, or whatever, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And of course, if you did enjoy this, don't forget to click the like button and to join me next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.